Are you ready to shop at a full-blown Amazon supermarket?
The Apple Card has been accused of having a sexist algorithm.
And say farewell to your Instagram likes. Stay tuned for your daily charge.
Welcome to Daily Charge. It's Monday, November 11th, 11/11. I'm Aya Zakhtar.
I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Roger Chang.
And here are today's top stories. Amazon is launching a new brand of grocery store in Los Angeles, California. Now, Amazon says this store is different from Whole Foods. The company was tight-lipped on the name, if there would be more locations, and what the selection would be like. This new store won't be like the Amazon Go store, which allowed customers to check out without a line. This unnamed store would be like regular grocery stores. Ben, you broke this story. What do you know about this new brand of grocery store?
Apparently, I know very little, according to what you just let in on. Well, okay, so the way to think about this is that Whole Foods is a higher-end grocery store. They do a really good job with organic, natural, specialty foods, but there's still a giant piece of the market that Amazon is just not getting exposure to if you still want to go to a grocery store and you don't do grocery delivery, which most people don't do. There's only about like 3% of the market that actually does grocery delivery in the United States. So I guess Amazon decided we need to create our own brand, have it be separate than Whole Foods. So Whole Foods kind of gets to remain this higher end thing. But I think it's very risky.
This is such a weird thing. This is like, you know, we've talked about for years, like the idea of Amazon getting into retail, like brick and mortar stores with like traditional Amazon products, like books and whatever. And that, I mean, that kind of happened a little bit, but like, this seems like reverse course in like a whole nother different way. Like we're just going to go all in on supermarkets now.
Yeah. So what's important to recognize about grocery is that it's an $800 billion market in the United States. And Amazon's been growing still, even though it's humongous, at about 20% revenue growth every single quarter. So if it really expects to keep that up, it needs to get exposure to grocery. It also needs to build more stores. That's what analysts have been saying for years. And it looks like maybe they're finally doing it. But are people going to actually switch to an Amazon grocery store? That's the big question, because they're going to have to spend years, if they actually develop this out, to build them out, hire people, do logistics, all this stuff. And then are people actually going to show up? That's going to be the big question mark.
Couldn't they use some of their like specialized knowledge from Whole Foods in general? I would think the idea of why they would go with a separate brand is to not mess with Whole Foods. If they started adding in all kinds of lower end products or things that wouldn't be fitting of the Whole Foods brand, it would probably tick off the market. So create another brand, which I still think is somewhat confusing, but I think in the long run might actually make sense.
Yeah, and if they call it something really obvious like Amazon Fresh, they already have that brand out in the market.
Yeah.
But look, they've only announced one store so far in Los Angeles. That's a far cry from Walmart, which has almost 5,000 stores in the United States. Like, this is a long way for them to go, but it's definitely something that's going to get a lot of attention as they continue to expand it.
Comparing to Walmart sounds horrifying. I'm just thinking of like an Amazon superstore that sells everything, you know?
It's a crazy idea, but maybe they'll do that eventually. Who knows?
That sounds horrifying. Okay, next up, the creator of Ruby on Rails, David Heinemeier Hansson, posted on Twitter that he'd received 20 times the credit than his wife did on the Apple Card. Then Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak replied and said the same thing happened to him and his wife. Woz received 10 times the limit. He said they have no separate bank or credit card accounts. The New York Department of Financial Services says it is investigating Goldman Sachs whether New York law was violated and wants to ensure all consumers are treated equally regardless of sex. Now, the Apple Card is backed by MasterCard and Goldman Sachs. Goldman issued a statement saying it bases its credit decisions on creditworthiness, not gender, race, or any other basis prohibited by law. Well, no kidding. Hansson says as soon as this became a PR issue, they immediately bumped up her credit limit without asking for any additional documentation. Hey, Roger, what do you think Apple's going to do about this, considering once you're attached to Apple, there's a lot of scrutiny that goes with that already. If it's banking, it's one thing, but now you're at Apple's bank.
Absolutely. Like this all kind of arose in social media, right? Which is not something that would have happened normally if this was a Goldman Sachs thing by itself. You know, that said, like for Apple, I mean, I don't know how big of a PR mess this is. I mean, ultimately, this is an investigation into Goldman, not Apple, right? And its practices. So we'll see how Apple responds. They haven't yet, but they do have a bit of a plausible deniability here, right? Because it's sort of the partner they're working with as opposed to Apple itself.
Yeah, and this is a new market to a certain extent for Goldman, so it kind of makes sense that they would screw this up a little bit. But at the same time, messing it up for Woz and his wife, it just seems really embarrassing to me because he's an Apple co-founder. Like, if you're going to get it right, get that one right at the very least. So
although it's
they're going to try to clean
it's
this up.
probably a
I'm
good
sure.
thing that they screwed it up in this situation because it actually brought light to this issue, right?
I mean, if you're going to find a silver lining in it, I guess that would be it.
Well, I don't have stock in Goldman, so I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm really curious what Apple's going to do about this because they don't want any kind of stink of we're against one type of person versus another. Like, and that seems like that'd be a big issue. Apple Card's supposed to have tons and tons of rewards, and they're trying to build that up. I wonder if this is going to continue gaining steam on social media, or is this going to be rectified relatively soon?
At this point, it seems anecdotal. Obviously, these are two well-known accounts, but at the same time, unless a large number of people start coming out and saying that this has been a problem for them and their spouses as well, then they might be able to contain the situation, I would say.
Also, if Goldman fixes the algorithm or addresses this issue as quickly as possible, like they could probably put a Band-Aid on this.
It's gonna be like, oh, we forgot to carry the one.
Yeah.
That's all. It was just a programming error. Sorry about that. And lastly, this week, Instagram will be hiding public like counts for some U.S. users. Individuals will still be able to see how many likes their post received, but like counts will not be displayed to followers. Follower counts will still be displayed. Instagram CEO said the idea is to depressurize Instagram, make it less of a competition. Ben, what do you think? Is this going to change the way people use Instagram?
Maybe. I don't really use Instagram anymore. I use Twitter a lot, and Twitter really lives off of likes. That's kind of how you know.
I mean,
what's
same
popular.
with Facebook. It's one of the key ingredients to keeping you hooked into one of these networks is the idea of likes, right? And so seeing the multiple likes, seeing kind of the dopamine hit you get when you get 100 likes when it goes
but you'll
viral.
still be able to see it.
Yeah, I know, but I guess the idea that that this is just something you see as opposed to what others see. There is that element where there's that competitive nature, and I think they're trying to take this out. I think it's a good thing, frankly. Like they've been talking about this as this is sort of a good PR move for Instagram. Like this is all about mental wellness, and I think there is a legit concern there that folks do focus, particularly younger folks, teenagers, are too fixated on the likes and whether or not their posts are Instagrammable and appealing enough.
Well, it's not like you can't take a screenshot of the likes you can see and then post it again.
I mean, yeah, but that's
Like,
really,
whoa.
but that's really extreme, right? Like this is definitely more passive, right? Like you see what these are. So if you no longer can see what other posts are doing, I don't know. Maybe it makes you feel a little bit better about yourself when you have your
I think
one
you're
like.
right. I agree with everything that you just said as far as the mental wellness, and those are all really important, and that's why they're moving in that direction. However, you're taking away an element of how are you supposed to know how viral a tweet is or whether it's really gaining steam.
But again, you'll know personally.
No, I mean, like, if I'm a consumer of Instagram.
Oh, right.
Like, if I see something, again, on Twitter that has, like, 30,000 likes or whatever, there's, like, a herd mentality to it to a certain extent. I'm more likely to like it.
But I think that's a good thing if we're breaking the herd mentality, and it's just like, I just like what I like. I don't care if, like, 30,000 people like this Instagram post. Maybe that's not my thing.
Obviously way cooler than I am, but okay.
I'm not. Stop kissing up to me. It's
you
really
like what
getting
you
annoying.
like. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I was doing.
Keep this in mind, folks. Nicki Minaj tweeted out, "I'm not posting on Instagram after this week because they removing the likes." I'm quoting here. What should I get into now? Think of all the time I'll have with my new life. So we're going to lose Nicki Minaj if they hide her likes because it's only happening to some U.S. users. So that could change. If celebrities actually do get angry enough, this could affect Instagram a bit.
It could, for sure. If celebrities leave the platform, that's a real problem for Instagram. So you could, maybe theoretically, they'll reverse course at some point. So
They'll go to
see.
MySpace. That's where we'll go.
Exactly.
Sure.
It was worth it just for that face.
No, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is the
That's what
future.
it is.
There you go,
Yeah.
Mike.
Nicki Minaj on LinkedIn.
Yes,
I would like to
love
see
it.
that.
I love it.
We're going to stop there and see what the viewers on YouTube, Twitter, and Periscope have to say. For you new fans, after we list the headlines at the top of each show, we spend a good amount of time afterwards answering your questions and expanding further on the day's stories. It helps us really learn what our audience is more interested in when it comes to our coverage here at CNET. So if you have any burning thoughts or comments or questions, please fire them off in the chat, and we'll tackle as many as we can. Brian Van Gelder, BVG, what do we got?
I like how you say that we have a good amount, but what happens if the amount is bad?
A bad amount?
A bad amount of comment or a bad amount of time.
Hey, you know what? Bad amount of time is still better than no time.
Oh.
All right.
Well done.
Yeah.
I had
Good
my coffee
play on
this
the
morning.
Very
You are
wise.
good at this.
Very wise. I would have just like stared blankly at the camera. Like you actually had a good response. I'm like, Brian, you stumped me again.
Next question.
Yeah.
All right. So first and foremost, happy Veterans Day to all of our followers out there who have friends and family in the service or you're in the service. Thank you very much. It's also, as we pointed out from our Canadian friends, Commander Trium, it's Remembrance Day in Canada as well. So happy to celebrate up there as well. And then, hey, Ben, Yan wants to make sure you know that it's Singles Day
That's
today.
right.
Alibaba is setting a new record.
It is Singles Day.
It's Singles Day.
11/11.
I do cover e-commerce, but not
It's
that much of the Chinese
30
market.
billion plus.
Yes, it's
market
huge.
day.
It's
Yeah.
huge in China.
It puts Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
It's
and
going to
all
end
that
up
to
here.
shame.
You know that, right?
That's the thing. I don't think it will. I mean, Veterans Day is the same day. Like, I don't. It's hard. Like, I was actually just talking about this with someone else. Like,
You just put it a different day.
but that's the thing. 11/11 is
11/11
why it's
is
Singles
just
Day.
do
1/1/1. January 11.
Yeah, why not?
Or do folks have any money left after Christmas
Yeah,
or after the
no.
holidays?
I've not thought this through. Anyway.
Yeah, but that's the thing. We've got Prime Day, we've got Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we've got post Christmas sales. Like we've got all these days already.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have room for another?
Yeah, like
another
Love Day.
shopping
This is. I feel like we probably talked about this when Prime Day was
I
just
know,
getting started.
that's true.
And boy, did we have money for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's true.
There was
But to be
cash
fair,
aplenty.
the summer in the summer span, there isn't like a big shopping holiday
Correct.
then. So
Yeah. That's a good point. Whereas there are a lot that.
Whereas
are
right
coming
now,
up
Singles
now.
Day is like so close to Black Friday and Cyber Monday that we're like, I don't know if like we can tolerate another big shopping day.
It's true. It's true. Unless like those sales were like blow your socks off.
Amazing.
People would wait until.
Also,
Black
this is
Friday.
only for single people, right? Do like couples actually spend money, or how does
no
this work?
idea. I know so
Because
little
it technically
about
is a
Singles Day.
celebration of being single and buying stuff for yourself or other folks who are
Just call
single.
it Treat Yourself Day and it'll work.
Yeah,
You don't have to put it on.
Treat yourself, Dan.
You don't
I
have
like
to put it
it.
on
Yourself
111
Day.
anymore. Then it
You're
can be
right.
everybody.
You're right.
Yeah.
So
Or
we should
self-Valentine's
probably
Day.
talk about some of the stories that we
self-partnered.
Nope.
actually discussed today.
I'm going to break Ben. Do we have any questions? Because we just kind of rambled.
Yeah,
based
sorry,
on,
sorry.
Yeah. We'll take a little more news from our neighbors to the north. Commander Trium, our official Canadian correspondent, reports that Apple Wallet doesn't seem to work in Canada, even with the MasterCard. The big five Canadian banks are completely ignored by Wallet. Do we know of any other major caveats or like system breakers going on with the Apple Card? Sounds like a bit of a rocky first year here for them.
Yeah, it really depends on where you live too. I think like they were really focused on getting it to work here in the U.S. before expanding it out, and so that's probably why there are issues elsewhere. And yeah, like Apple still needs to strike deals with a bunch of banks in Canada. Does Goldman have operations up in Canada?
No
like when
idea.
it comes to,
I mean, like they're an international brand.
Yeah, they
so,
are, but,
so
like,
I
I don't-
imagine they do. But
like as a card issuer, right? Because this is new for Goldman, so I don't know if they actually have like the infrastructure to do this outside of the U.S.
I'm not sure which markets they're in other than the U.S. I'll ping Eli.
Okay, next comment coming in from Imagine Sagi, who says that the fact that they jumped their the wife's credit limit as soon as they found out, that should have been the major red flag. Has there been any other comments from Wozniak or anybody else like bringing this up to light?
I'm going to take a look at that. Most of the ones that have been highlighted, they're kind of profanity laden. At DHH, he's the one that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah,
I haven't seen a lot of Woz stuff though.
I had to really kind of carefully cut around and limit the exposure I had to his Twitter thread, because as much as I enjoyed it, I'm pretty sure it probably wouldn't fly with our bosses seeing that show up on the show. But yeah, if anybody wants a thumping good read, go check out his Twitter storm. It's pretty damning. All right. What is going to be the next sick and egotistical way that users are going to get around the removal of likes on Instagram? Are they going to start doing things like screenshotting and posting their likes? Are they going to find other degenerate, narcissistic things to do to showcase that they have more followers than you?
You're right. You got to get your dopamine hit somewhere.
I mean, actually, screenshotting and sharing seems a little excessive to me.
I wouldn't put it past them, though.
I would
I
think it's
agree
going to
with
be
you.
this. It's like if this thing receives so many likes, I'll do this other thing. So when you see me doing this activity
Right.
where I'm like jumping into a pool that's ice cold, you knew I got 300,000 likes on something. So that'd be
Yeah.
like
How
the
do I know
way.
you
So I'm
weren't
gonna have to
making it
keep
up.
jumping into more pools,
Yeah,
larger
perhaps.
pools that are colder.
How would I know that? That's the thing. You're going to have to trust me.
That sounds terrible.
I
No,
know.
you're-
Trust on social media.
And then you have to continue
No.
to trust somebody.
No,
As you're 110% right. I think that's absolutely.
It's just
how
going to be
gonna
gimmicks
go.
and gimmicks and gimmicks.
so many gimmicks.
Yeah.
But I
Or-
do think, going back to our previous point about Nicki Minaj, if
Yes.
too many celebrities and athletes start leaving the site and going
backpedal.
elsewhere, they are going to pull back.
If they go to Snapchat, you see those likes show back up really fast.
Snapchat's not the
Or
right
fine.
venue for
I don't
it.
actually know what the alternative platform would be.
It's hard to say. I don't think that,
TikTok.
especially with celebrities and athletes, they're really heavy into Instagram these days. They don't do Twitter as much as, reporters and politicians. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, like anytime I see Ben Simmons do anything, he's always doing it on Instagram.
So maybe TikTok.
Maybe.
This is where Google can strike now. Hey, we have a new service.
Google
Plus. Google Plus.
Google Wave.
Do it.
They could say it's new because no one remembers it.
Google
It's okay.
Buzz. What's
Oh
the
wow,
buzz?
Google Buzz. There was
Google
also
Buzz is-
Google Wave.
Google Wave is now integrated in
Yeah.
Google Docs, though.
Yeah.
It was this collaborative
So what happens when
writing.
you do
Those
everything
poor
in
guys.
beta?
Honestly,
There's an
like,
opportunity, though. I mean, there's a non-Facebook company could come up with something that people actually want to use.
Yeah, but
But
they
it's not gonna be
did it
Google.
already.
Right,
They
well.
already did it, and it's
Well,
kind of
you know
like
what?
it's hilarious that there's such a big company.
There's a lot of
there.
companies, not a lot of big streamers that are leaving Twitch for, I believe, Microsoft's Mixer, and that's been a big deal. So if a company's willing to throw money at certain celebrities, they could kind of astroturf that and have these guys waiting and ready. So
Yeah,
there actually
yeah.
is an opportunity. It's more I think about this, I was surprised how Twitch lost people.
Yep.
Some major streamers. So maybe it's possible, but then again, being on a streaming service is more like being on a network, right? You're switching networks. So
Yep.
having people open a browser is not so difficult. But
It's a good point that you made about Microsoft too, because I hadn't heard of Mixer ever until
Yeah, neither
they,
have I.
they
Until
picked
Ninja
up
showed up?
Ninja.
Yeah, yeah.
So they definitely found the absolute best possible person to poach, because if I can't name 5 people on Twitch, but I know Ninja, even though I don't spend any time
So
on
LinkedIn
Twitch.
just needs to get Nicki Minaj to
That's
jump
right.
on.
Yeah.
Boom.
linked Insta, that's what it'll be called.
There you go.
Our Canadian correspondent, Ryan Williams, reports in, we've had likes hidden for people in Canada for a while now. It hasn't really affected me much. At least people can't see can't see if a post only gets a few likes, so you won't feel as bad. So he's kind of coming at it from the other
Yeah,
angle, like reduce
that's
the
true.
negative
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you like kind of flop. I don't know. The fact that we've gotten ourselves to this point is kind of sick sad, but any of you guys, do you care? Like, or do you know anybody you think this is going to affect in your personal life? I feel like this is more just affecting the celebrity of Instagram.
No,
but
I think that they're like I made the point. Like I think teenagers, I think younger folks who are probably a little bit more obsessed with this stuff. This might actually be helpful for them, like to again relieve the pressure of like having a post out there with only one like. Like I think they're. I mean, I've seen like my cousins who are like obsessed about this stuff, and like I actually could see this actually benefiting them.
A good other corollary here is that Jack Dorsey, I think, has talked about getting rid of like ratios on Twitter, where
Oh, yeah.
if you get ratioed on that, that's obviously that's like a to a certain extent it can be, especially if you're younger, a form of cyberbullying and like people really ganging up on you.
What do you mean
So
ratioed?
Ratioed is basically if you get more comments than likes and retweets.
Okay.
So a lot of times if people really don't like what you said, they'll just,
They'll
put in a comment and say here for the ratio, or they'll just put in a letter, and it's they're using the comment in effect as a way of like
Downvoting.
Downvoting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't have a downvote. So you see that a lot, and I think that like there's an awareness at Twitter that's an unhealthy and negative practice, especially for it's one thing if it's a politician that people don't like, but it's another thing if it's a regular person and
Yep.
they're really just getting attacked on Twitter over something like that.
Doesn't that mean kids could just be sad on their own? They see the one like and they can't share it with anybody. They're like, oh no. I mean, does that really change anything? The fact that they can still see that they're not receiving a certain amount of likes?
Yeah,
pressures.
yes,
Deep pressures.
absolutely. There's the whole peer pressure. There's the fact that there's it's not just that I know that there's only one like. It's that everybody
Else
knows.
sees it.
Yeah, I think that is a big deal. It's
Okay,
a much
that's
bigger
fair.
deal for younger folk for younger people than us because we just don't care anymore. Like at least for me, I've just sort of given up. I don't care at this point. I don't care about any of you guys or what you think about me.
That's true.
But when I was younger, that made a big difference, right? That was a much bigger deal.
Nothing like in the Q&A portion of the show. You're like,
Like,
I don't care about anything.
I've just given up.
Anything you guys say,
Yep.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to
It's,
me.
Meh.
He's got to cut a case of the Alfred. I mean, there's something to be
Whoa,
said.
whoa. Okay, I
alive.
cared about that was a cut, man. That hurt. That hurt, yo.
That was a little below the belt. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that there is something to be said about self-validation and that being an essential part of like a child's upbringing and well-being, and can do wonderful things for your mental health beyond just like the dopamine spike. But maybe we find ways with these social platforms to encourage more legitimate or self-validation from legitimate sources, like more in-home sources. You know, it's one thing to have your mom be like, I'm very proud of you, I'm gonna hang this picture on the fridge, as opposed to like, you know, 1,600 strangers being like, oh, you look hot in that bathing suit. Like, what have we done? Like, what happens now if an entire generation is suddenly deprived of what they've come to expect as far as self-validation?
Are you talking about from families or from?
I don't know. I think there's a lot of kids out there that, like you said, kind of thrive on the whole, these strangers think I'm funny or whatever like that. What if you suddenly snatch that away? Are we going to see like a mega Gen Z crash or what?
I would think we'd see like an exodus to another platform. That's basically what it'd be. What's going to give the kid the same kind of hit? Is that like on YouTube where you can have likes and dislikes? Can you have more views that way? Things that are public. So I would think for those kinds of folks, they're going to push themselves to a different platform so they can still get that hit. Otherwise, I could see somebody going like, well, nobody sees this anymore. What's the point? They might just drop out of it. Yeah. And that's a whole other I guess it depends on the maturity of the person. And this is something you got to be aware of. Like, we're parents, all of us here. So like we have to be aware of, oh yeah, you don't have to worry about the amount of likes this is, or worrying about that. Well, technically they're not supposed to have accounts till 13?
Right.
But, there's always ways around that stuff.
But I mean, like, the example you gave, like, having your mother praise your artwork and putting it on the fridge. When you're at that certain age where you do care about those likes, you just don't care about whatever your parents do anyway. At that
Stab
point,
your kid on the head.
And I think it's very hard to replicate
just give them
that.
like little pieces of paper that say like, here you go. I got some likes for you.
That's really good. Here's 12 likes for you. I like that.
We're terrible parents.
Anyway, my point is that I guess social media isn't really redeemable for this kind of thing. Going back to what Brian was saying, that if you're looking for social media to get some sort of like positive validation, you're probably looking in the wrong place. Unless you're a
but I
celebrity.
think it still happens.
But I think that's the dilemma, is that a lot of folks do go to social media for that validation. And like, if that gets shut down, right, if that gets shut down, I think to Ayaz's point, I think they just go somewhere else for the same hit.
They might try to do it in real life.
Ooh.
Try to get validated in real life. Like, we did when we were kids.
With like our friends.
Like with a talent show?
Yeah,
sure.
Am I a huge nerd for saying that?
This is what happened to you, and you're like, I need to be validated. Talent show time. I was just thinking.
Time to
wait,
tap dance.
What was your talent? Were you a tap dancer?
Probably jokes. Probably.
Really? Jokes?
Yeah.
You?
Me? Yeah,
okay.
Hard to
Sure.
say.
Sure. Yeah. Hard to see. Anyway.
I kill in Minneapolis.
I can totally picture Ben standing out in like a street corner, like dressed as a vagrant, standing on top of like a soapbox trying to tell jokes, and he's distributing like bucks, and they're just like pieces of paper he drew a thumbs up on. Like, please give them back. Please give them back.
This is definitely doing wonders for my ego right here. So thank you very much, guys, for knocking me down a peg.
You're welcome. It's a good thing you're a reporter.
For sure.
You don't have to write any jokes in your Amazon store things. Were there any jokes in this?
No.
No hidden
hopefully
jokes?
not.
No hidden jokes.
You got to work on that.
I usually take those jokes out.
Yeah.
You got to put some like acrostics in here.
Okay.
Have some fun in this. Let's see this humor, man. It's
All
so
right.
dry and
or
intelligent.
not. Maybe we don't see the humor.
Okay.
All right.
Let's take a couple more questions before we shut down for the day. Imagine Sagi says, I think it's terrible for Instagram to force all people to not show their likes due to Instagram not paying any creators and influencers, and may make a huge hit in their business. It's interesting to have someone else kind of come from the other way. I think generally a lot of us are just kind of like, cool, likes are going away. It doesn't really impact us. But thank you, Imagine Sagi, for putting perspective into it. Storm King says, what's the benefit of hiding these likes? That is the basis of most social media platforms. Like, what is their end game in this?
Well, I mean, wasn't social media really about being able to connect with other people, showing you the stuff? So instead of sending out emails or mass texts, you're like, hey, look, here's a picture of this vacation I took. It wasn't supposed to be this idea of, look how great my life is. It's just, I want to share with my friends the stuff that I would share with them.
And then it got perverted super fast.
Then it got kind of shifted a bit. Yeah. Like, okay, it's going to be this game, and we're going to see who gets
who has the most fabulous life,
influencer, that kind of stuff. That there's a term that apparently kids they want to be influencers now, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
a weird job to think about because like that's not a
Wait,
but
that's
it's
a job?
it is a
it's a
it
career
is
aspiration at this point. Yes.
Well, it is a potentially lucrative job. Yeah, influencers can make a lot of money.
How many
And
high school guidance counselors do you think are quitting this year?
Well, the same amount that always quits.
Yeah, hopefully they don't because we need them more than now than ever. Look, the thing of it is these likes, and someone asked about what the advantage here is for it. I'm not entirely sure like if there is a business advantage to these social networks getting rid of these likes, because it's sort of the opposite, right? Like those likes were a key component to keeping you stuck on that social network, right? Like seeing the dopamine hit, seeing the engagement, and really, like to Ben's point, like looking at what has 30,000 likes and like looking at that content because that's the viral content. That all helped Instagram. You know, they've said that this isn't about a business thing. Like if they actually take a hit, they're willing to do that, which is good PR, which Facebook needs right now because Facebook is in a lot of trouble. And partly I think that's why it's all being done. Like they're on this campaign to like, it's all about mental health and we're doing right by you. We're sacrificing, you know, our potential revenue. So you'll have a better experience on the platform. And I think a lot of that ultimately it's PR. It's like to kind of, distract from all the other issues going on with Facebook.
Right. I would almost describe it as like crisis communication at this point, other than just PR, because they've really faced so many difficult situations.
Yep.
So if they were in a stronger position, maybe they wouldn't feel the need to do it. It's possible.
Yeah.
Here's a really great question that came in from W. Blades, and I want us to cover this before we shut down. I know we're running a little late here, but are there therapists that specialize in treating people with social media validation disorder?
I don't know if that's in the DSM.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I bet there are. It just means that you're looking to the outside world for validation as opposed to your inner self, and that's. I've been in therapy for years, so I know about this stuff. Other than the social media aspect, I didn't have a problem with that. But yeah, there's definitely therapists who can help you with that kind of stuff. So if you guys are feeling that way and you're really down, there's nothing wrong with going to a therapist and discussing those kinds of things.
And I'm sure a therapist would be very willing to discuss that kind of stuff because social media is not a new construct.
Right.
And they've probably faced any number of issues related to that. So, yeah, definitely good point.
Yeah.
Great point. And coming full circle, we didn't talk about it a lot today, but the scoop on Amazon unveiling a supermarket in the LA area. Yan asks, isn't Whole Foods already owned by Amazon?
Yes.
Why do they need an alternative brand?
Confusion.
Are they taking a page from the book of Google, Ayaz?
No, not this isn't like reaching Google or HBO levels of like what? It's gonna have a definite title that's different. I hope.
Like I think
It will.
to Ben's point, like this is these are supermarkets that may aim for different segments of
Right.
consumers, right? Like Whole Foods is definitely higher end. There are folks
Right.
who may not necessarily afford or feel comfortable going to a Whole Foods and buying all the
And
overpriced stuff.
even for wealthy folks,
Right.
they're not buying literally everything at Whole Foods. Whole
Right,
Foods does
right.
not have every single item that you need.
Yep.
And, maybe you don't want to buy like your paper towels from Whole Foods because
You don't want
it's
your
like,
7th generation brown $85
it's
paper
like
towels?
one handmade, paper towel.
artisanal hand towels, and they're
handcrafted
expensive.
from a tree,
Right, exactly.
directly from a tree.
So, yeah, this is, I guess the really quick way of explaining it is they're trying to push more into the mainstream.
Yep.
And grocery delivery was another way that they were trying to do that. And grocery delivery just hasn't taken off. People just aren't that excited about it for a number of reasons. I think one of them is folks really like trying out their own produce. You want to like pick up the apples.
You don't want to
wanna
order
pick
it
up
on
the
Amazon
tomatoes.
Fresh. I remember seeing that, like, oh yeah, you can order like organic chicken, and I was like, an image about it. It's somewhat weird to order it from like a website than going into a store to buy food. There's something.
we've
there's a
done
disconnect
it.
there
They
still.
We've
said the
ordered-
same things about DVDs, Ayaz, and look at us now.
Well, that's
Yeah,
but
but
like
there's
this has
like-
been around for a while and it still hasn't taken off.
Right,
though.
like, and DVDs are like they're just inanimate objects, right? Like, there's no issue.
Are you shopping for
about-
animate objects at the supermarket?
No. My point being that like
Roger walks out the front door with an armful of 12 lobsters.
that's right.
You can.
I guess
You're
that's
right.
true.
You
Yeah,
can
well,
do
yeah,
it.
you
You can
can.
do-
That's
wow,
that's,
way
that's
to go,
my
Very
point,
nice.
though. But that is my point. Like, in terms of the food, like there is like a level where I'm not really great at it, but my wife is good at like figuring out which box of strawberries is better than there's some that are
Absolutely.
bad, and so that element of actually having to be there physically, it's hard to replace.
When our kids were born, especially when the twins were born, we did more grocery delivery and were repeatedly disappointed
Yeah,
by
totally.
any number of produce stuff. Even if 85% of the produce is good, you're still getting 15% that sucks, that you're not happy with, that you still paid for.
We've used Amazon Fresh, and generally we've found the quality of the food's not that great. There are a lot of misses there, and so there's enough. If it's 15, if it's 20, if a fifth of your grocery list is unusable,
It's a waste of money.
it's not a great experience.
And what are you gonna do? Return it? It's such a
So
pain.
we do use Fresh Direct pretty regularly, and when the food is not up to standards, you can complain and actually get your money back, which is kind of a nice thing. But there's a point where if you keep complaining, they're probably going to be like,
Not
stop,
only that,
stop using the service.
I know the tenor in my home is my wife does the grocery shopping. She goes every week, either it's Saturday or Sunday. If she doesn't like something, or something's not up to snuff that we've already brought home, you just go back to the grocery store instead of calling somebody on the phone or whatever.
Yeah.
Just to me seems like a little bit more of it's a little bit easier, and it's a little bit more obvious to do that kind of thing, which again, this is really hard for Amazon to now replicate this with a whole national grocery chain, if that's the direction they're going in. But I think they're trying to get to that we want to be your mainstream grocery store.
I don't know. Do we know who their suppliers are going to be? Is the quality of the product going to improve at all? I mean, if they're already trying to do delivery produce, it sucks. What makes you think putting it back on the shelf is going to help any more outside of giving you the option to go selecting? Sometimes I think that you just can't top some of these models with better convenience. As busy as the world is, and as much as I use Amazon to deliver stuff to me, including dry grocery items, I don't think you're ever going to take the experience of walking up and inappropriately fondling the eggplants than actually going to the store. I don't think you can do that.
Well, Amazon will go ahead and come up with their own farms next. That's
True.
what those
Possibly,
Amazon
yeah.
Farms brings it to Amazon Fresh.
I mean, a lot of the niche markets, like 99 Ranch Market, it's a Chinese owned, they actually have their own local suppliers, and I think that's sort of the next step. That actually makes a lot of sense. That Amazon, in the end, owns the entire supply chain at some point.
What is that called? Vertical integration?
Yeah,
it is.
You just own every element of it. It's a great point that BVG said, though, is that if your first foot forward is with Amazon Fresh and you don't like the service, you're less likely to shop in an Amazon branded grocery store because you also think it's bad. But at the same time, if Amazon can somehow figure out a way to just use the Whole Foods brand to give it some, fairy dust, and make it seem like, our suppliers are similar or work with our Whole Food suppliers.
Yeah.
This is all really high quality stuff. I could see it potentially working.
And look, I think having an Amazon-owned store or branded store gives them a lot more leeway to experiment with all the weird things they want to do, like with Amazon Go, or with just sort of
or an Echo-shaped birthday cake.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would totally not buy that.
I would.
And I know you would. But.
Okay, we are way over time, but thanks everybody for hanging out. That was fun today. Good discussion. We got a lot of news coming up this week. What do we got? Stadia. Yan is very interested to see if you're going to have any kind of takeaway on Stadia, so I wonder if that's going to come down.
Yeah, I pre-ordered the Founders thing, so once it comes, I'll let you know.
Gotcha.
And then Disney Plus is tomorrow.
Exactly. That was the next thing I was going to bring up, is we're definitely going to have Joan on tomorrow to discuss Disney Plus. So anybody else who's signed up, I know I'm signed up. Am I getting it at midnight tonight?
Yeah, Joan just posted a story. I think it's supposed to launch midnight PT, although some places it might go a little bit earlier. We'll see.
I mean, anytime Netflix has done premieres like that, they tend to leak them a little bit early, but the entire service.
Are you gonna stay awake for Mandalorian?
No, not tonight. I can't tonight, but I'll probably binge plenty tomorrow. So I'm really looking forward to it. I really am.
People are going to do that, aren't they?
Oh,
Yes.
they will. They will. Yeah.
Productivity is going to take a hit tomorrow.
Well, Mandalorian's jumping out a episode a week, aren't they? So that takes that.
Yeah,
right
yeah.
out of,
You can't binge. I mean, I think it's just the premiere episode.
If you're staying up till 3 to watch the thing.
I'm not gonna stay up till 3 to watch it, but I definitely will. I definitely will watch it tomorrow night. I'm pretty sure.
And I want to say we also have a couple other things going on this week. We can't talk about right now, but we will. We've got a couple of secret brewing projects that we'll talk to you about later.
It's a busy, busy week, so
Very
make sure
busy.
to stay tuned here to the Daily Charge. And until then, Ayaz, take us on out.
You know what? Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you can join us here live weekday mornings except Friday. And if you have the chance, peek at the links below to learn more about today's topics, and feel free to subscribe to our audio podcasts. For the Daily Charge, I'm Ayaz Akhtar.
I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Roger Chang.
Thanks for joining us.
Can't get enough? Check out the Daily Supercharge, our extended post show with special features, audience Q&A, and in-depth reviews. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.